Online treatment with ForWord. Neuroplan is a speech-language pathology company offering online treatment across Canada. Extended health insurance funding can be used, grant funding, contracts with distributed learning agencies, contracts with families, contracts with government, and we are a registered autism service provider in British Columbia. What clues let us know that students will struggle to learn? Parents, does your child misunderstand what you say? Request that information be repeated? Give slow or delayed responses? Use only a few descriptive words when speaking? Seem reluctant to engage in conversations? Have difficulty reconstructing a story in its appropriate order? Teachers, do your students have difficulty remembering or following instructions? Not remember the question when called upon in class? Have difficulty with ambiguous language or idioms? Have difficulty with phonics, reading, or spelling? Have unexplained behavior problems? Scientific research about the brain. We've learned a lot in the last years, and there's been tremendous interest. Neuroscience research tells us that learning problems stem from brain-based deficits. So we're talking about memory, attention, processing speed, sequencing, and other core deficits. These underlying memory, attention, processing, and sequencing deficits are the root problems. Students can't process the sounds of language well. There's confusion between similar sounds like shoe, chew, sue, zoo, to, do. There's a poor ability to understand directions and sustain attention, and poor ability to link sounds to letters, resulting in reading impairments. What causes this? Hearing problems or ear infections, genetic inheritance, insufficient stimulation, events that damage the brain, and many other unknown causes. Ear infections result in temporary hearing loss. Inconsistent input creates inefficient processing. We inherit a wiring diagram for our brain. Some brains are less efficient at learning. The brain needs consistent, intensive stimulation in order to develop normally. Children with sensory disturbances, rigid behaviors, or poor environments don't get the right stimulation. Events that damage the brain in utero, things like drugs, smoking, toxemia, diseases, exposure to radiation and other toxins, prematurity, and a complicated delivery. After birth, it can be things like a brain injury, toxins, ear infections, poor nutrition, allergies, stroke, and neurological disease. The founding scientists at the Scientific Learning Company are Mike Merzenich, Dr. Steve Miller, Dr. Paula Talal, and Dr. William Jenkins. These research scientists collaborated to create ForWord software. They used their expertise to design computer games that change the brain, and all of these different games fall under the name ForWord. An efficient brain can process speech sounds extremely rapidly. The difference between a ba and a da is the consonant sound at the beginning. It only lasts 40 milliseconds. This is 1/12 of a second. Can you hear these sounds? Here's the first one.
Say. Say.
Do these sound different to you?
Say. Say.
If you can process the gap, you will hear a T or a P. I'll do it one more time.
Say. Say.
Normal speech is too fast for some people. People with slow processing can't tell ba and da apart. 40 milliseconds is too fast for some people. Slow processing creates lifelong learning problems. The researchers used technology to slow down the consonants. When these consonants were stretched to 80 milliseconds, even poor listeners could hear the difference. This was an amazing discovery. People who were poor readers could tell the sounds apart. They could actually do it. Poor readers were just processing speech sounds more slowly than everyone else. They had a timing problem in the brain called a temporal processing deficit. Was there a way to fix it? This is what the researchers looked at. They modified consonant sounds to create a pure signal. They discovered that natural sounds have a lot of overlap. And so the researchers created sounds that were stretched, slowed down, and emphasized so that they were distinct. Can fast-forward software help people overcome temporal processing deficits? Yes, it can. At first, students start by discriminating slow, distinct sounds. If they get a high score, they can move up. Next, they discriminate sounds that are slightly faster. They get a high score and move up. They discriminate sounds that are even faster and keep going. They get all the way to a normal speech rate. So learners begin with the most acoustically modified language sounds and progress toward more natural language. And this is how learners improve with fast-forward software. The games move from a slow speech rate of about 120 milliseconds to a natural speech rate of about 35 milliseconds. Here's an image from one of the games, and the task is to discriminate consonants. And so the student has to listen and figure out which acorn said ba, which acorn said da. Here's another image from one of the games. This works on sequencing and memory. The student has to listen to sounds. One is a high sound and one is a low sound, and figure out what was first and what was next. Here's another picture from a game. In this case, students are listening to words. So we've got shack, tack, they, and day. The computer will say a word, and the student has to pick the correct picture. Here's a game that works on attention. The student has to swing the paddle when they hear the word, and the words are moving across the screen. The student is told which word to listen for. Discrimination of pitch and intonation improves with fast-forward. And this is really important for humor and for friendships. Let me say the first one as a compliment. That's a nice shirt. Now I'll say it as an insult. That's a nice shirt. Just by changing my pitch and intonation, I changed the meaning of what I was saying. After treatment with fast-forward, it is easier to remember sequences. No guessing, no need for repetitions. Learners become better listeners. After treatment with fast-forward, students do better in the classroom. Decoding skills improve, and reading comprehension improves. After treatment with fast-forward, it's easier to understand jokes, sarcasm, and double meanings. Students become better at making friends. The software with a stretched speech signal comes in two series. The language series is designed for elementary age students, and there are two games, two programs, language and language to reading, inside that series. And then the literacy series is designed for teens and adults. And again, there are two programs in this series with a number of games inside each of the programs. There's also software that has a normal speech signal. The reading series builds critical skills from the kindergarten to adult level, starting with reading readiness and moving down through reading 1 all the way to reading 5. Fast-forward programs are scientifically proven. They're effective. They have positively impacted the lives of over 2 million learners worldwide. They're efficient. Achievement gains of 1 to 2 years in as little as 8 to 12 weeks. They're enduring. More than 200 studies have proven that fast-forward programs work and the improvements endure. How can you buy the software? Scientific Learning's fast-forward programs are not sold in stores or online because they require professional oversight. Neuroplan Treatment Services is a recognized clinical provider for the scientific learning products. We have the training and expertise to help you. We offer therapy packages that include assessment, online software, and unlimited consultation. How often? How long? There are protocols of 30, 40, 50, or even 90 minutes a day. 3 or more hours a week. You get weekly progress reports by email. And you decide when to take a break and when to celebrate that you are done. Thank you so much. For more information, visit Neuroplan's website at neuroplan.ca or send us an email at info@neuroplan.ca.